In this video, I'm going to break down for you when you can move your Medicare contracts to a new hierarchy or a new FMO, what kind of contracts do have what's known as a blackout period, which ones do not, and what is a blackout period anyway. This video is brought to you by none other than Hire Heroes, you guys. Hire Heroes is your one-stop shop when it comes to virtual staffing and making sure that you have qualified talent with your business. One thing that I love about Hire Heroes, you guys, is they've actually gone through the process already of vetting and making sure that your staff member is well trained to best fit your needs. Whether you need help with social media work, posting things on your accounts, responding to people that send messages to your social media accounts, whether you need help with data entry or a multitude of other things that they're qualified to do, Hire Heroes has got you covered. If you're having trouble finding quality talent and number two, affording to be able to run payroll for that talent, Hire Heroes has got you covered with an affordable alternative to have a virtual assistant working for your business. There's a link down in the description of this video to where you can learn more about getting your own VA through Hire Heroes. I certainly recommend it. They're what we use in our business for all of our virtual assistant needs, and you will want to make sure that you check them out today. So let's say you want to move your Medicare contracts, but you might have experienced some difficulty. I'm going to break down exactly how all of it works in the Medicare organization, when you can actually move your contracts from one FMO to another, and the whole 9 yards. Now, I'm going to avoid mentioning specific insurance carriers in this video, primarily due to the fact that a lot of times the carriers don't like their internal policies broadcast out in video form like this out to the world. And also their processes and their policies can change over time. So it very well could be by the time you actually see this video on a particular carrier, if we put it out there, that it might be out of date and we just never want to see that, okay? So what we're going to be talking about particularly are Medicare supplement ancillary products and Medicare Advantage products. So usually you have a type of kind of formula that a lot of these insurance companies and a lot of these carriers for different product types are going to follow along the same kind of product type. I'll kind of explain what I mean by that. If you're trying to move your Medicare Advantage contracts, typically, I would say a majority of Medicare Advantage contracts follow the same structure on kind of how it works with releases and when you can actually move. Most Medicare Advantage companies are going to require you to get a release from your former top of hierarchy upline. What is a top of hierarchy upline? Well, let's say you're contracted under somebody. Let's say you're here and you're contracted under Little Billy. Okay, Little Billy's the guy that's been training you. He's your direct upline. But Little Billy's not what we would call the top of hierarchy. Little Billy's under an FMO. So he has a top of hierarchy FMO. Maybe that FMO isn't even the top of hierarchy. Maybe they're under another FMO. Hierarchies can get kind of complex and it kind of goes up the ladder. You have to be able to obtain a release from your top of hierarchy FMO. Now, some organizations will accept what's known as a general release. Some insurance companies, I should say, will accept what's known as a general release, which essentially is a release letter that says, we at XYZ FMO agree to release you, Little Billy, from, in this scenario, you're Little Billy, from this carrier, this carrier, this carrier, and then they sign it and it's printed on their letterhead, okay? It could just be on a piece of printer paper. There's nothing specific that really needs to be done in terms of a form. It just has to be what's known as a general release. Other carriers have their own internal forms that you need to sign and your old top of hierarchy have to sign and your new top of hierarchy have to sign. And so every company is going to kind of have their own policy, but it's usually going to kind of come down to either a general release or a specific form for that carrier. It's usually going to be one or the other with Medicare Advantage contracts 9 times out of 10. There are some exceptions when it comes to carriers. And with that, you then submit that to your new top of hierarchy, your new upline, your new FMO. They have you usually fill out a new contract, and then your contract moves after the appropriate processing time. Could be a week, could be 2 weeks, just depends on kind of the carrier and how busy they are at that point in time, okay? Now, let's say the old upline or the old top of hierarchy does not want to release you for any given reason. Well, you can submit what's known as a self-release process, but a self-release process with most Medicare Advantage companies, not all, but most these days, will submit you into a queue where 90 days from when you request it, then you will move. Right? So you have to wait 90 days. You get put in a queue and then 90 days you're moved under the new organization that you want to move under. There's a specific process for each insurance company that's going to differ on how you actually submit a self-release process. Now, Medicare Advantage companies have what's known as a blackout period. Most of them do. What is a blackout period? A blackout period is when they are close to AEP or in AEP, that they don't want to deal with releases. They don't want to deal with organizations and hierarchies being changed. It's just a lot of work for them. They don't want to focus on that. And so they prevent organizations and agencies from changing their hierarchies during this period of time. It's essentially after a certain day. So a lot of companies are either 9/1 or 10/1 for their blackout dates. What that means is if you submit a self-release process, or if you submit even a release during that time or after that period of time, from basically 9/1 or 10/1, depending on the insurance company, till the end of the year, you then are put in a queue and you're not moved until the 1st of January. Now, let's say you are in a self-release process and you're waiting 90 days. Let's say you put that in July 1st and you're waiting 90 days, and the carrier that you submitted it for has a blackout period date of 9/1 and after, and it bleeds after 9/1. That 90 days extends past 9/1. Then you don't move until January 1st of the next year. So blackout periods and knowing what the blackout periods when you're doing self-release processes are very, very important. Practically, it's better to do it earlier in the year because then you get through the risk of kind of falling into the blackout period. So the sooner you do it early on in the year, usually Q1 is probably the best time, would be recommended if you're doing a self-release process, okay? So that's Medicare Advantage plans. Now, let's talk about ancillary carriers and Medicare supplement carriers. Medicare supplement products would be carriers that kind of follow this kind of criteria: dental, vision, hearing, hospital indemnity, ancillary products. Most carriers, now there's going to be exceptions, but it is more common that you see that a carrier will require you to go at least 6 months without writing any business to do what's known as a self-release. They typically are going to prevent you from producing for up to 6 months. So if you write an app within a 6-month period, you then have to wait 6 months from when that app was submitted to be able to self-release. It's kind of an old school insurance policy. We used to see it far more often, even with Medicare Advantage companies, although we don't see it anymore. And it's flat out absolutely stupid. It is so dumb for an insurance company to prevent you from writing business for them and punishing you by doing so. That's pretty much what they're doing, but they do that in self-release processes. Now, some carriers have their own specific form that needs to be filled out if their upline is willing to release you, and others have just general releases that they will accept, same as Medicare Advantage. And if you get a release, there is no blackout period for most ancillary and Medicare supplement carriers. You can then move those contracts and those hierarchies any time of the year. So blackout periods are usually going to be for Medicare Advantage and Part D prescription drug carriers only. Okay, and there are some exceptions to the Medicare supplement carriers, but for the most part, you can move them any time of the year as long as you can get a release. Now, if you have never picked up a contract before on the Medicare Advantage or the Medicare supplement space, and you want to pick up a new contract, there is no such thing as a blackout period. You can do a new contract if you never had it previously, any time of the year, even after a carrier's specific blackout period. And that is kind of the ins and outs and the 10,000-foot view of what it looks like to be able to move your contracts, when you can do so, what products kind of have what requirements, and kind of what a good expectation would be if you're going to be trying to change your FMO anytime soon. If you guys found this video helpful and insightful and it answered a lot of your questions that you might have had coming in, do me a favor and smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It's going to help so many more people like you who need this information find it easier. Make sure to comment your thoughts down below. Did I miss anything? Is there any details that you'd like to share if you've recently changed your upline, your FMO, that you might think is helpful that I might have not covered or forgotten to cover in this video? Also, comment your thoughts down below if you like this type of content. We'll be happy to make more of it if you do. Make sure to subscribe if you're a Medicare agent. We put out content every single week to help you grow your business, and we don't ask for anything except for a little bit of your time. And we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Here's to your success and your abundance.